Listen to this episode if you want to increase your sales, build a brand that lasts decades, and build your customer retention going into 2026. This episode is going to be helpful for you if you feel like you're constantly chasing sales with ads, influencers, or PR, but you don't actually see customers sticking around deeper than friends, family, acquaintances, and your a couple ride or die customers. Maybe you notice that people buy once, but they don't always come back, or maybe they come back once every 6 months as opposed to every 3 months. Maybe you worry that customers are shopping around more than ever and they may need a little extra reassurance before actually hitting that buy button, or you just want to overall increase your conversion rates from every single channel, whether you are doing ads, whether you're doing organic, whether you're doing PR, influencer marketing, retail, wholesale, whatever that is for you. It just feels like there is something missing. This episode alone is going to increase your sales. It is going to change your perspective of how you think about your business. It is going to change your perspective of how you market, and it's going to make it easier on you. One thing that we teach here, no matter the strategy that you're using, if you don't have a community, you're building a leaky bucket business, meaning people are falling off. You can have the most viral reels, or you can be in Vogue, you can be listed on Oprah's favorite things, you can have all of the visibility in the world, but if you don't master this one piece of community building, you will lose them, especially in 2026. People will not buy from you. You will have lower conversion rates. You can have eyes, but that doesn't necessarily mean you are going to have customers. And that is what we're talking about today. Community truly is the foundation that makes every other strategy work better, more efficiently, increase your conversion rates, and allow them to come back over and over again. Without it, you're focused on transactions instead of relationships. And yes, we love a good transaction, but the relationship is what makes people last, and what makes people share about you, and it's what gets people to pick you in a saturated industry over everybody else in 2026, because every industry, most industries are saturated right now in 2026, and it's not getting any better. People are going to consistently start new businesses in your industry. And so if you want to stand out, you need this thing, and we're going to talk about it today. By the end of this episode, hopefully you'll understand why community building is the single most important move you can make going into 2026, and how it directly impacts your retention, conversions, and long-term brand loyalty. This would be a great episode to share with a friend so you guys can chat about it. It's going to be a heavy one. It's going to be a deep one. We're going to really get into some nitty-gritty. We're going to first talk about why community matters, what happens without community, what community does for you, simple ways to start building community, and in 2026 and beyond, what you need to do. I am so excited that you're here. I first just want to take 10 quick seconds to say hello in case you're new. My name is Madison Page. I am the host of the Small Business Growth Podcast. I am a business growth specialist, and I help turn small businesses into household names. And so if you are here and you have a consumer brand, you have a product that you sell to customers, this episode is going to be helpful for you. Honestly, it will be helpful for you no matter what industry you are in or what you really sell. Community is absolutely necessary. Even for me in my service-based business, I work on community. Something that is often overlooked is the community building side of things. Why it's overlooked is because it's not something that A, everybody is doing, B, that people feel like is quote unquote scalable all the time, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be scalable. It really is the change in how you think about your marketing. If we look at how the consumer behavior is going on right now, community building is something that people are really going to require in order to purchase from you. And so first, we're going to really talk about why this matters more than ever. Really, at this point in time, AI is starting to take over a lot of businesses, a lot of marketing, a lot of, different points of communicating with businesses, whether that be customer experience or on your website. And so people are going to crave human connection more and more. We've seen this since about 2015, that people have really started to care more about the human connection with a brand, as well as the value center of many consumers. We see this with young young millennials and Gen Z, and even more so Gen Alpha, who are still pretty young and not really in the consumer force yet. But as they continue to grow into it, these generations care about who your brand is at its core. They care about your values. They care about what you stand for. They care about what supporting that brand represents for them. No matter what, people are caring who they're supporting. Because there's so much information out there on social media, on AI, we can kind of vet businesses a little bit better now. We can look at the ingredients of products. We can look at what goes into this. Even for me, like I was just buying new pots and pans for the new house that we're moving into, and I'm an all natural gal, right? I'm very into the wellness world, and I wanted non-toxic pans that didn't have Teflon. And I was searching around for it, and I chose the brand that wasn't the biggest, that didn't have the most amount of followers on Instagram. I chose the brand that I felt the most connected with. I liked their messaging. I liked that they introduced who the founder was and what the founder's story was. And when I was looking at it, I said, wow, I really like how this brand just portrays themselves. And I like how they share their values and what their values were. They were talking about sustainability, and they were talking about, how they give back. They were talking about, the health and the journey and all of these different pieces. And that was what actually called me to that brand. I could have gone to Caraway, who is on every all natural podcast out there, or Green Pan, who is basically kind of like one tier away from Caraway. But instead, they weren't the most expensive. They weren't, the most well-known. They weren't the biggest name brand. It was because I felt a value to them, and they started to actually care about it. And that was because they were trying to build community over just this big name brand with all of these big claims. People are more value-centered than ever. They want to vet who they are buying from. They need that personal connection in order to buy from them. This is why influencer brands are so huge. Celebrity brands are so huge. And so with kind of this perfect storm of the pandemic, of the AI, of people caring more about values, people really need this community-led business in order to win in 2026. Algorithms and ads can always bring traffic, but only community can truly nurture this traffic into buyers and loyal customers. If we have community building strategies, it's pretty easy to get somebody to buy from you once, but for somebody to buy from you again and again, for somebody to tell their friends about your brand, for somebody to really put the stake in the ground and say, this is a brand that I love and that I'm going to come back on over and over again, that means that they need to have certain elements of this community building strategies. That is what we're talking about today. Transactional businesses are really much more focused on one-off sales. Community-focused businesses are focused on retention, repeat sales, higher lifetime value, because the growth actually happens easier and more naturally, because those people are going to consistently build. If you think about it, I would rather have 500 customers that come back every 30 days than having, 750 customers that never come back ever at all, or even, 1,000 customers that never come back. And you have to always be searching for new people, because that means you're going to have to put more money into ads, into, visibility. If we can maintain them, your sales are going to consistently stack on top of each other. And that's what we're really talking about when I talk about community building. What this really means, because I have a lot of people say, Maddie, what does it really mean to have a community? What does that mean? What does that mean tangibly that I'm going to have? It means that you're going to have loyal buyers that come back. You're going to have people that love to share about your brand, whether that's on social media or with their friend. You're going to have longer term customers, which means you're going to have a longer customer lifetime value, which means you're going to have to do less top of funnel marketing, which is really hard in 2026, is to get new customers all the time. You're going to have a more engaged audience on your email list, on your social, because these people really do love your brand. They feel very connected to it. You're going to have higher average order values because they're going to be kind of loading up on their favorites. They're more likely, if they really love you and you can really create connection, they're not just going to try one product. They're going to keep expanding into more products. Your average order value increases with the amount of orders that these people place with you. Because, if we're talking skincare, somebody might try your moisturizer first, but then when they really love your moisturizer and they love your brand, they're going to try, this other toner, and they're going to try this cleanser, and they're going to try all of these other things. And then their order is going to consistently stack. What we're building is we're building kind of like buy-in to the brand. I don't know about you, but if you think of right now, the brands that you reorder without thought, you finish a product and you reorder it, or when you go to the grocery store, you buy them over and over again. You probably follow them on Instagram. You might even listen to a podcast from the founder. Any of those brands that you just love, those are going to be the brands that you are a part of their brand community. Brand community really means getting a pool of loyal fan base behind a business. business because of who your business really is at the core with your values. They feel a part of your brand. They want to share about your brand. What happens if you don't have a community is you often have lower conversion rates across every channel. You pay for visibility, but they don't actually convert and they just kind of forget about you. And so what I see a lot of times is every single channel is going to be better if you have a community. So I have clients that do ads and then all of a sudden they stop posting on their community. And I guess something to really highlight here is that social media is oftentimes the home of your community. I like to say it's Instagram because I really like Instagram. For some people it's TikTok, but that's really the home of your community is on your social media. And so what happens is if you run ads to that social media and then all of a sudden you drop your organic marketing, your sales and your conversions will actually drop on your ads because people don't know what to do. They're not actually being nurtured over and over again, whether you're gaining followers or just eyes. Visibility alone is not going to grow. Community and having proper content and organic social media is actually going to help people want to buy from you more. So again, whether you have PR, people are going back to your social media more than they're going to your website in 2026. In 2008, people were going to your website because that's all that was out there. Is they would go to your website to check out your business. Now, people are going to your Instagram. People go to your Instagram, they check out your profile, maybe they follow you, or at least they kind of vet, they understand what your business is all about. We have to understand that the majority of consumers, as well as the consumers that are coming up into the consumer market, grew up with social media being their go-to. So like for me, I'm a Gen Z. When I find a brand, I don't look at their website. I go to their social media and I see what I can gather about them from their social. And then I go to their website when I'm trying to buy. Your social media kind of is the home. And if they have a really robust social media that I feel very connected to, that they're clearly very active in, and that they have other people, that there's a lot of good energy around, people are commenting and people are involved, what that tells me is I want to also be involved. Wow, they are very in demand. Wow, these people really seem to love them. I'm basically looking at it as kind of like social proof on their social media that, okay, I should also love this brand. Okay, this brand is really made for me. So if you don't have a community and you bring more eyes, whether that's on PR or influencer marketing or ads, whatever, you're not actually going to have the conversion rate that you would have if you just actually had really solid organic marketing. What I see is brands, when they hit a certain amount of revenue, their organic marketing starts to decline because they're putting all of their resources into other forms of marketing. They're putting all of their resources into some of that top of funnel stuff, and they forget about the middle of the funnel. They forget about the nurturing that needs to be done actually in order to make these people retain as customers and actually just buy from you. Because more people than ever are shopping around to find the brand that they really connect with. But when they find you, they will stick with you. And so we have to very strategically run this. If you don't have a community, you're probably paying for visibility all the time, but you can't really seem to get that visibility to convert into sales. Your customers don't really feel connected. Either you don't feel connected to them or they don't feel connected to you. They're price shopping, they're looking around, maybe they buy from you once, you probably have a low customer retention rate, no long-term brand loyalty. You're kind of just chasing that next transaction. Another really big thing is what happens without a community is that you feel like you have to be on social media 24/7 in order to grow, or you feel like you just can't seem to get engagement anywhere. It feels like your marketing is just kind of lackluster. You might have visibility, but the engagement really isn't there. They follow you and then you kind of just lose them into the ether. So what this community does is it builds trust faster. It increases your conversion across all channels. It creates retention and it turns customers into advocates who bring in new customers. That's why when you really take time to build community, your growth actually happens a lot more naturally. Because if I have a brand that I love, I'm telling all my gal pals about it. I'm sitting at brunch and I'm saying, oh my gosh, I just bought this and I'm obsessed with it. I'm telling my mom about it. I'm telling my boyfriend about, or my husband, I guess now, about it. I'm telling all of these people about this product because I'm obsessed with it. And I'm really doing the marketing for them from word of mouth. Your word of mouth marketing is much better. It also allows for people to want to come back to you. I think we've kind of beat this dead horse a little bit, right? You know what this community is going to do for you. So I really want to talk about simple ways to start building community and what that really means. Hey, I'm jumping in here for 30 quick seconds for those of you listening and thinking, all right, but how do I actually apply this to my business? Every week here, I share strategies, case studies, growth mistakes to avoid, but your business growth is nuanced. So your business support has to be nuanced as well. That's why all of my support includes me inside of your business, your ideas, your launches, your content, perfecting what you're already building and uncovering your hidden opportunities to scale. This isn't a cookie cutter course. It's a high level personalized support system to help you optimize your brand, your strategy, and every single person your business touches. If you want my eyes and my brain on your branding, your sales, your marketing, and your overall growth plan, click the link in the show notes to apply. Let's see what we can build together. I think before we do that, I really just want to hit home that no matter what type of strategy that you are doing right now, community building is going to make it more effective. Because what we are really seeing is that even with influencer marketing, if an influencer posts about your product and they go to your organic social media and it's lackluster and it's not very good and there isn't really any, there's no nurture point, there's no value center behind that organic social media, it's really just pushing product, you're going to lose those people and they're going to forget about you. They're going to move on. But if you really take the time to strategically build community through social media, you are going to have higher follow rates from all of these people. You will have higher conversion rates, as well as just when people follow you, the buying cycle has really extended in 2026, 2025, right? In 2025, the buying cycle, it used to be really easy to get somebody to see you from an influencer and actually just go and buy from you. Now, people need a little bit more nurturing in that in between, actually to kind of vet you and see what your business is all about, see that you have values that they really like. So what that means is you need to actually nurture them a little bit more. So if you just fall off the game and your organic social media is not very good, it's kind of like missing the heart behind your brand, missing the story, it's really just pushing product, what you're doing is you're basically just making all of this new visibility just like a stagnant follower. This is something that I see very often is when I have brands come to me. I work with brands from pre-revenue all the way up to acquisition. So, like $50 million, $100 million in revenue. And, what we see very often is that as people grow, or as people market, they dull down the message that they have behind their brand, the values that their brand has, or the purpose as to why they're in business, because they don't feel like their audience cares, or they feel like it actually, dulls down. It actually, makes people not able to buy from them. So they have this very specific niche that it's made for. They have a very specific solution that their product is solving, or they have this very specific thing that they're trying to sell, or reason behind the brand or story behind the brand. They don't sell it because they think that the audience doesn't care. I am telling you right now that the audience cares more than you actually think. And that actually might be the reason they're buying from you over somebody else that is selling something very similar to you. And so one major piece here when we talk about how to build a community is that you need to not dull down your brand in order to try to fit everybody. We don't want you to dull down what makes you unique. I don't want you to dull down your messaging. I don't want you to dull down your story because it might not actually speak to somebody. It might not actually resonate with somebody, or it might kind of push somebody away because what that story, that solution, that mission that you have is going to do is speak to the people that need to hear it more than others. And so some of the major 3 ways that I want, simple ways to start building community, I could talk about this for hours. I have tons of different frameworks around this. And if you want more about this, I would be happy to share my frameworks. Please let me know. I love hearing which episodes you really love and what you want to hear more about. It helps me map out my podcast and create podcasts for you. Let me know what you are really wanting to hear more of. And please reach out to me, DM me on Instagram at the Small Business Growth Podcast and say you would love to hear more about community building, because I could preach about this all day long. And it's so important. And it really is the core as to what I teach is so different than what a lot of people teach. A lot of people teach this transactional marketing. I am teaching relationship driven marketing, not just because I'm a heart-centered gal and I'm a yapper and I'm a lover. Why I do that is because I actually think it's the easiest way to grow, the best way to grow, the most profitable way to grow, and the only way in 2026 to ensure that you are building a business that lasts, legacy brand, right? We don't just want somebody to buy from you one time. It's pretty easy to get people to do that. We want somebody to buy from you and then have to buy from you and have to buy from you and have to buy from you. So that really does stack. So number one way to grow community is to share values and the behind the scenes of your brand, not just the products. You really need to stay true to your message. I know because you're here that you have a mission-driven business. I know that you have a story behind why you started. I know that you have either you had a problem that you saw that you are fixing, or you saw a white space in the market, or there was a very specific event that happened that you knew that you needed to create this brand. Stay true to that message. Stay true to the why behind your brand and don't dull it down. And make sure that when people come in contact with your brand, they know the true message, meaning, and purpose behind your product within 7 seconds of touching your brand. That is going to be really, really important. The next one is that you have to make people feel seen and heard when you do communicate with them, whether that is emails or social media. What we're trying to do is really adapt the messaging behind your brand, the messaging behind your brand to really speak to certain people. We want to adapt that messaging that you have in your emails and your social, your captions, your content, whatever that might be, to really speak to that type of person that would connect with your mission, with your value, with your purpose, whatever that might be. We can really adapt that messaging to them. And I think another big piece here is talking with your customers, not just at them. One of the core pillars of community building is going to be collaboration. You have to speak to your customers. We have to ask them questions, get feedback, feature them, really get them involved. I like to say there's 3 C's to community building. There is collaboration, getting people involved in your brand, because there's something called the buy-in theory, is that when people are involved in the decisions or, in the communication with your brand, they are bought in a little bit more and they will want to buy from you over and over again. And so collaboration with your customers, not just talking at them, but actually talking with them. The next one is communication. You need to communicate that overall value of your brand, of your message, what it's going to do for them over and over and over again. And that is going to be a really important piece of community building in general. We have to communicate that message, that value, and make sure that they see it and that they know it. Really, I like to say this all the time, is that marketing is saying the same thing 1,000 different ways and making sure that it sticks. Until one time that it sticks, it's okay to be repetitive. It's okay to say the same thing, the same mission over and over again. People don't get sick of it because you are saying it differently every time. So we have collaboration, we have communication, and last but not least is connection. You really need to change the way that you think about your brand. You have to change the way that you think about your marketing. It's not just, let me just get this information out there. Instead, it's actually, how can I connect with my consumer? How can I connect with this person? How can I actually have some sort of communication with them? How can I connect with them in the messaging that we have and the marketing that we have out there? If I were to have you just focus on these 3 things, we talk about the collaboration, the communication, and the connection, you will start to see a change in your average order value, in your retention, in your customer lifetime value, in your share rates, your referral rates, all of those different pieces. It's going to be really, really important. When we look at 2026 and beyond, the future of product-based businesses looks very different. Ads will continue to get more expensive to acquire new people. Competition will continue to keep growing. Algorithms will continue to keep changing. The economy will continue to ebb and flow. The businesses that are going to withstand everything are going to be the ones with customers who feel like they belong a part of this brand community. We are in this business of building brand community. Why that is not just because we love to build a business with heart. It's because it's the smart way to build a business right now. It's the only way to build a business that really lasts. I know you're here because you're trying to build a legacy business. I know you're here because you're trying to own this business for 5-10 years and that you really love this brand and you want it to last and you want it to stick around. To do that, it's not just about acquiring new people. It's pretty easy to run some ads and to make, a couple $100,000 a month on social media. It's pretty easy to do that. But that also doesn't mean that these people are going to stick around. It doesn't mean that you're going to have this fulfilled audience that really loves it. It doesn't mean you're going to have this community that feels very seen and heard and felt throughout your buying process. The relationship is what's really important here, and it's what's going to make your business growth easier, more seamless, and more profitable overall. I could talk about community building all the time. I have tons of episodes talking about community building, but I really wanted to share those 3 C's with you today: collaboration, communication, and connection. When I really look at your action items here at the end of today's episode, I want you to look at your current strategy. How do you think about your marketing right now? Are you building relationships on your social, or are you really just focusing on transactions? Do you have a lot of top of funnel marketing without actually looking at how are these people retaining within my audience? Are you doing a lot of PR? Are you doing a lot of ads? Are you doing a lot of influencer marketing? Are you doing a lot of retail, but you're not actually getting them to buy from you D2C, direct to consumer, on your own website? Are you having a lot of this top of funnel, but you actually have some low conversion rates? It's something that when I talk to ad specialists all the time, is that not only do you need to run the ads, you need to have a solid community-driven organic social media presence as well. This community is held at the core of your social media, but it is something you need to intentionally create. If you were objective looking at your social media, if you look at your social media right now, is your value and your message, your meaning very evident within 10 seconds that people can find it? Do people know who your product is really for? And do they know how it's going to change their life, the mission behind it, the message behind it? And do they have spaces that they can really connect with you as the founder or a face of the brand? I really want you to add one community element this week, whether that be a behind the scenes post, maybe an FAQ. Maybe you ask them a question, some sort of kind of like, hey, what should I do next? Maybe doing a customer spotlight, maybe just adding something that feels a little bit more personal, even if it's a thank you note through the holiday season. How can we really build community, getting people, how can we collaborate? How can we communicate your message? And how can we connect deeper with your customers? Start thinking of your audience as a community and not just a list of followers or a list of buyers, because you could have 10,000 followers and I don't care if they only buy from you one time. I would rather you have 500 followers that buy from you every single month than 10,000 followers that only buy from you once and then never again, and they just go stale and they go stagnant, because that 500 will grow much quicker than that 10,000 ever will. If there was one thing that I could shake out of every business owner, is this feeling that you don't need to connect with your consumer, that you don't need this heart or this warmth behind your business. And a lot of times it's something that we add in at the beginning, but it kind of like slowly dissipates as our business kind of keeps moving, as our business keeps growing, as our business, we almost feel like we quote unquote grow out of it, but you never grow out of community building. If you look at some of the businesses that have really disrupted in the last 3 to 5 years, they've really mastered this one thing. That if you are a consumer brand and you are overlooking this community building based marketing, you are missing out on customers right now, because no matter what else you're doing, you need a community. Whether you're on Google Ads, you're doing SEO, whether you're doing anything, people use your social media to vet you, to build trust, to connect with you, and to see if your business is a business that they want to build. Yesterday, when I was shopping, I was in Home Goods shopping for those pots and pans. I didn't go to their website. I went to their social media to see if they were active, to see what claims they were making, and to see what their brand was all about. Then I went to their website, but I first kind of vetted them through their social media, thinking of your social media as a landing pad of all of these other forms of marketing that you still need to be active and strategic with, no matter what. The one thing you need to win in 2026 isn't a new platform, isn't a new strategy, isn't a new ad hack, isn't a new anything. It's community. It's focusing on building your most important asset you will ever work on, and that is community. I would really highly recommend sending this episode over to a friend so you guys can kind of, chat back and forth of how can we actually get our customers involved? How can we collaborate with them? How can we ask them more strategic questions? How can we really build this collaboration community and connection with them? Send this to one of your friends so you can chat about it. If you want to chat about it with my biz besties, join my small business cafe. That is my free podcast community that I would love to have you in, and we will be discussing this inside of that community as well. I hope you have a lovely day. I love you. I'm rooting for you, and I'm in your corner always. I will see you in the next episode. If you found today's episode helpful and are looking for more tangible ways to grow your business, make sure you are subscribed to the show. If you want to dive deeper into this topic more, click the link in the show notes and join our completely free podcast community where we dive into every single podcast topic, as well as give some bonus support and free coaching calls. And finally, if you are interested in getting my eyes on your business to find your hidden opportunities to scale, apply to work with me one-on-one in the show notes or on our website. Remember, it's not enough to listen. Don't forget to implement too. I love ya. I'll see you in the next episode.